are the ones who get it done. The most important part is the one you need now, and the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional grade supplies for every industry, even hard to find products.
You're live, Mario.
Oh, it's on me. I'm sorry, folks. I thought I fell asleep for a second. It won't take long for me to wake up though, because we got a lot of blasting to do. For a second. It won't take long for me to wake up though, because well, I'm Fred. Blasting to do for a second. Fred, I want to talk about Ken Paxton.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. You know, he just announced. He just announced today.
Ken Paxton.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. You know, he just announced.
Well, I guess let me just jump right into it.
Mario, turn off your YouTube. It's echoing.
I guess let me just jump right into it. Turn off my what?
It's echoing.
I guess let me just jump right into it. Turn off my what?
It's echoing.
I guess let me just jump right into it. I don't know what's going on with the echo. Must be Ken Paxton sabotaging the show. Ken Paxton sabotaging the show.
Your YouTube channel is coming through, Mario.
Ken Paxton sabotaging the show. Well, then let me see if I can get it out of here.
Just shut it down. You don't need it.
Well, then let me see if I can get it out of here. How's that?
I think that'll work.
That works?
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that, but we had to get special technical support for this.
Absolutely.
It's not because of the technician guy. It's all my fault, but that's all right. At least I admit my faults. Ken Paxton doesn't have any if you let him tell it. But let me just jump right into this since we fooled around a bit here, and sorry about that, as I said. But let me do this. Ken Paxton just recently came up with a novel idea, if you want to call it that, and he's calling the big chain store Costco. And you know what he's up to? He's demanding that Costco get rid of its DEI program. which he, by the way, falsely claimed that it was discriminatory. So he joins in with a bunch of 19 other cowardly states that have caved in to the bandwagon of the Trump administration. So he wants to try and tell a private company what to do. And that, boy, if that's not fascism, I don't know what is. There's nothing discriminatory about any company or anyone wanting to hire and promote people who are offering the most ignored, the most vulnerable people in our society. And there's thousands of people protest Trump across the nation, hands off. I'm woke rallies. we which have been carried out by millions of people across the globe. Then we're confronted with the most ignorant cabinet appointees, Fred, I've ever seen in my life. Nothing. Costco remains a beacon of light, I think, in the world of crazed politicians in the Republican Party. And according to Forbes magazine, I was just checking it out, Costco's board of directors did respond way back in January about ending their DEI programs, and they said, well, we ain't going to do it. And because they understand the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nothing wrong with that. So Costco shareholders voted down the proposal to end DEI. So let that be a message to you, Ken Paxton. By more than 98% of the shares voting against it. So prior to that shareholders meeting, I might add, Costco's board of directors had voted unanimously to request that investors reject that kind of stuff. Now, the Texas Attorney General, I don't know why they need to change the label on that, Fred, and call him the Texas Attorney Private. Because
Was he impeached? Was he impeached and not convicted?
Yeah, this guy should be in jail.
Yeah.
Along with his buddy president, Fred.
Yeah.
Anyway, Costco's public support of diversity, equity, and inclusion program really contrasts with the positions taken by some of the other ones, like Walmart, McDonald's, John Deere, Amazon, Meta. All these guys just rolled over like
They did.
worse than puppy dogs.
They did. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and look, it reminds me of Hitler as he removed people from office who disagreed with him. Hitler wanted 100% loyalty. Oh my, does that sound like somebody we know? 100% loyalty like Trump and his puppets, because they wanted one way or the highway. And that's what the Nazi regime did. Now we've got a Trump regime doing the same thing. So the evidence is there in plain sight. Trump is leading the biggest attack, in addition to all that, on the union movements in the history of America, and issuing executive orders stripping collective bargaining rights for federal workers, along with firing all of them. You can't get 100% loyalty unless you get rid of the union members who don't support him. So Trump is using this guise of, he's always talking about national security. That's the lie he comes up with every other day.
All the time.
Yeah, to carry out a fascist agenda. And Fred, this is coming straight out of that book, that Project 2025. Remember when Trump was saying, I don't know nothing about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Remember that? Oh my God. He's following the book right line for line. So these dictatorial actions, I think, with no respect for the law, come right out of Adolf Hitler's playbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, do you think that there could be such a battle within the Republican Party between Paxton and the senator that it could open the door for a Democrat to come in and win? And do you have any idea who you might think could be the Democrat that could challenge him?
No, I don't. I don't, because the Democrats didn't, unless Cory Booker moves to Texas right away, the Democrats are just, they fell asleep for I don't know how long. They only began to wake up lately. because of the demonstrations. But I would love to see somebody with a lot of gusto from the Democratic Party get in there, a lot of strength, a lot of someone that can challenge the Trump administration, challenge all his tariff baloney, and move us forward. So I don't, at this point, I don't see who could possibly do that. But I'm always surprised, and I hope I would be surprised again. And of course, Fred is referring to John Cornyn. Paxton announced he's running against Senator Cornyn. Good point though, Fred. Two Republicans gunslinging each other.
Right.
Does present an opening. I'm just wondering who. I'm tempted to call Cory Booker and say, Cory, would you move to Texas?
Hey, how about Castro?
No. No.
How about who?
Castro. Julian Castro or his brother?
No, that's a possibility. That's a possibility, but I'd like to hear from him, you know. The Democrats are a little bit too quiet for me, right? They're better than the Republicans, but they're a little bit too quiet for me, especially in this day and time. You can't afford to be quiet. You got to speak up.
Because the Republicans certainly are going to do that, and they're going to keep doing it.
Oh, they're screaming at everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Well, do you think that the Democrats they have to pick up their aggressiveness because Trump is coming strong, and he's got I have never in all my years seen a Congress that is this weak at all. I mean, these guys are just, and unfortunately, with the recent Supreme Court decision, we might see the court caving in also.
Yeah, thinking back, Fred, you and I can both think back pretty far. We won't tell everybody how old we are, but we can think back pretty far.
Yeah.
I remember the Vietnam War, and I remember the Democrats going along with it, Republicans going along with it. But when the action went to the street, then you start seeing people change their minds. And I think what we're seeing now, that action is going to the street.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
When you get the masses involved, the next big demonstration is supposed to be on April 19th. So
right. Yeah.
you see that mass action going on in the street, then you'll start to see people in the Democratic Party get the guts they should have had in the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
With a few exceptions, Al Green and Cory Booker and Jasmine Crockett, they're always strong. And AOC, Andrea Ocasio-Cortez, they're always strong. But we need more strength like that. And I think we'll see it, Fred, as the people start mobilizing in the street. I think we will start seeing that power begin to manifest itself.
Saturday was incredible. I forgot there were over 1,000 marches.
Oh,
and some of them had like 300, 400, over 1,000 people showing up. There was a massive march in DC. There's massive marches all over the country. And they can't argue that these were just Democratic agitators. It's more than just Democrats that are doing this. This is just everyday people who are getting screwed. I mean, they're simply getting screwed.
Some of them were Republicans, Fred. I saw signs that said, I'm a Republican, but I'm sick of this guy.
Yeah, yeah. Because he is doing, like with this, we just had this tariff thing. And today, after people have lost money, now he comes out and says, well, I'm going to put a pause it for 90 days. What the hell is that all about? I mean, what's this guy up to?
He's a coward, and he backed up. He's crawfishing now. He's backing up like a crawfish, and the crawfish appears to be dead, because he saw what was happening on the stock exchange, and when he saw that was going on, if he didn't back away from those tariffs, then and he's going to play a game. I know what the game is. The game is he's going to claim that the stock market went up because of what he's doing, but the stock went up because of because he backed off. he backed off. He backed away. Mr. Strongman backed off.
Yeah, yeah. And recall, he said he was not going to deviate. He would not change. These tariffs were permanent.
Yeah, he might have fooled he might have fooled a few other people. He didn't fool the wise guys, I can tell you that.
Oh, that's right, definitely. Okay, Mario, we're going to take a break. Then we'll come back and we will continue.
When I came back from the war, I was barely hanging on by a thread. I'm here today because of Tanya's relentless efforts in trying to get me healed. And says, Michael, I know you've got a plan to take your life today, but if you give me just 5 more minutes to love you. 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, honey, 5 more minutes to love.
Michael has actually taught me what it looks like to accept help.
The bravest person I know is definitely my dad, 100%.
My friend Sean.
My daughter Cynthia, and she was in the United States Army.
One of the bravest things he ever did wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
Our journey has not been easy.
One of the bravest things he did was when he asked to move in with me and my mom.
I felt like I was lost, and you gave me a place to stay.
When he decided he was going to go back to school after 23 years.
It was the better part of my life that I spent in the Marine Corps. Transitioning out, it's a difficult thing.
She went on foreign soil. She went to war. But the bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
So I really appreciate it.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because I felt like a failure. And then I realized, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
People couldn't see my potential, so I had to show them.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
Today, I'm the CEO of my own company.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Why are we not rethinking this?
I am more.
I'm more than
who I am on paper.
Black Life Texas News Magazine, your go-to source for informative, creative, and engaging news. With 85 convenient locations throughout San Antonio, Black Life Texas News Magazine brings you the latest updates on politics, social justice, culture, entertainment, and more. From thought-provoking articles to inspiring profiles, we cover the topics that matter most to you. Stay informed, connected, and inspired with our in-depth analysis and coverage of critical issues affecting the Black community. But we don't stop there. Black Life Texas News Magazine is your guide to upcoming events, festivals, and exhibitions that celebrate African American heritage and promote unity. Don't miss another copy. Subscribe today for convenient home delivery. Get your hands on Black Life Texas News Magazine and be part of the conversation that matters most to our community. Black Life Texas.
All right. Black Life Texas, by the way, Mario and I do the 2 lead stories. When you first open up the paper, you'll see my editorial, and then you'll see Mario's story. And it's full of knowledge because we are the wise guys. Definitely. No doubt about it. We have, between the two of us, I'm not going to say how many years, but a whole lot of years of dealing with this bullshit in America. So we know how to deal with it. And along those lines, I want to now talk about my last article. And it's titled, We Need to Unite. And the problem, now is the time to unite. Right. Okay. Why am I saying that? Because I think that we are confronting a situation that we haven't had to deal with in over 50 years. and make America great again. And Trump is trying to take us back to a time at the turn of the 20th century, no doubt about it. And folks, unfortunately, right now, he is succeeding. He is succeeding. He's gone after all the DEI programs. He's talked about no more, no more needing to hire Black people. I mean, it's just a disaster. Excuse me as I stumble through this because it's hard for me to even deal with this guy. But we have some folks that are part of us that make it almost impossible for us to have the uniting we need to have. And that has happened before. It's nothing new for Black folks to have the sellouts. And let me go back to the year 1890 and a Black man by the name of Isaiah Montgomery. Mr. Montgomery was the only Black person to participate in the 1890 Mississippi Constitutional Convention. The Constitution was for one reason, to disenfranchise all the Black people in Mississippi. And my friend there actually voted to disenfranchise Blacks because he hoped that if he did that, whites would look friendly on him and would not bother his newly formed town, Mound Bayou in Mississippi. What he did is he helped disenfranchise 123,000 Black Americans in Mississippi. Okay, fast forward to 1895 and Booker T. Washington and his famous Atlanta Exposition speech, where he told a bunch of white folks that we could be as separate as the fingers on the hand, but as one in the hand. So what he was essentially telling them, hey, segregation's fine. Don't worry about it. Now, some historians will argue that opened the door for the infamous 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson decision that separate could be equal. And we know what that led to for up until Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. So also Booker T. Washington made a speech to whites that I'd like to share with you now, if we can pull it up. And there we go. So Washington said, in order to placate the racists who feared the new Negro, Washington reminded them of the old Negro nursing your children, watching by the sickbed of your mothers and fathers, and often following them with tear-dimmed eyes to their graves. The Negro is the most patient, faithful, law-abiding, and unresentful people that the world has seen. That was what Booker T. Washington told white America, and he was rewarded for it. Of course, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois countered that with the following words, if we can pull it up here. At a time when Negro civil rights called for organized and aggressive defense, he broke down that defense by advising acquiescence and or at least no open agitation. So what we had back then was Blacks who were accommodating white racism, and that the white folks felt that was good. That, hey, look, all Black folks are not like that new Negro who is really a danger to the country. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's fast forward that to now, and the mega group with their Black supporters. And the first one I'm going to show you is Byron Donalds, who is an apologist for Trump and everything he's doing. And he is now thinking about running for governor. Well, he's announced he's going to run for governor of Florida. So all you Black folks in Florida, I know for the time you're going to vote against a Black candidate, and rightfully so. The other apologist or accommodationist to the Trump crowd is our friend Tim Scott, who even said, I love you, and even have referred to Trump as being almost like a father to him. So those are the kind of people. And then, of course, the thousands and thousands of blacks who voted for him in the 2024 election. These folks, I don't know, I think a lot of these people, Mario, are what I call post-civilization, post-civil rights blacks, as opposed to pre-civil rights blacks, because they don't understand what it was like in this country before the civil rights movement. And I guess as more time passes, it becomes less visible that the position we were in prior to the civil rights movement. And they're going to find out, one thing they need to know, if in white America, when it comes right down to it, they put all blacks, I don't care who you are, in a bag and you hit the ground at the same time. So if they can win what they're doing right now with the majority of blacks, then it's just a matter of time when they're going to do it to them too. So,
you know what, Fred? You had a good point last time when you were talking about it's possible that Trump may try to deport people that are not associated with anything, just ordinary Americans. And they released that on the news today, I heard, that he had one time floated the idea of how can we deport American citizens. And I'm not talking about suspected gang members. I'm talking about me and you, like what you mentioned last time. That actually hit the news today. And so I guess Tim Scott and the rest of those guys that have neuropathy of the brain, I guess, or Samboism, they had an attack of Sambo disorder. But
you went there. I wasn't going there, but you went there. Sambo syndrome.
Yeah, Sambo syndrome. And so these guys are nuts. But you're right. They go back all the way to the 1890s, and now we've got a new blend of them. And Fred, it's a shame because that tells me that none of those guys ever read much of any history. And they didn't read any Black history. They didn't read what happened. They somehow found themselves privileged, and I guess started reading, comic books or something that had no relationship. Or Jack and Jill went up the hill, and that's all they ever read.
Yeah. And they don't realize when it comes right down to it, they are going to be treated. If Trump and MAGA can pull off what they're trying to, they'll be at some point, they won't need them anymore, and they'll cast them aside. And the court ruled yesterday that Trump can use the Enemies Act of 1798 as a basis to deport people. And so that means, now they did say it should be after they have an opportunity in court, but that was an add-on to what he said. The frightening thing, and we talked about this last week, is if he has that right, and the other thing, what happens with the 14th Amendment, if the court upholds his belief that he has a right to not give citizenship to certain people, and Black people got their citizenship through the 14th Amendment. Now you put that with the whole fact now that he can just arrest me and you, Mario, and we'll end up in a El Salvador prison, because how's he going to, I mean, right now we don't have a specific country that we can identify that's our home. Unless you just pick somewhere in Africa and say, okay, I'm gonna take a bunch of you folks and send you back to Africa. And so it's frightening. It really is frightening. And I don't know if they look at this show, they may decide.
Well, if the screen goes blank, the audience knows what happened.
Yeah.
We're on a plane and they ain't gonna turn it around.
I put our show on Facebook last week. It was there for about 15 minutes, and they took it off. So they are watching everything. And for example, they just arrested a man in Florida who put up something about assassinate. And the Secret Service went in and arrested, or FBI went and arrested him because they claimed it was a threat to Trump's life. So
Yeah.
it's getting bad out there. And my original story was that we as Black people need to unite. We need 100% to unite to take on what's just starting, what's just beginning to be what these folks can do. And every time I see them do something like they did to the Nicaraguans, they will definitely do it to us. I watch these guys on in the House of Representatives, and it tells me now I see why slavery lasted so long.
Yeah.
And that same mentality, man, it still exists.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, did you see that guy, Fred, that showed up at one of the hands-off rallies with he had a gun, he jumped out of his pickup truck. And you can spot these Trump guys very easily. They usually have a beard that's all scraggly and ugly looking. They usually have some Make America hat, great again hat on. They got dirty looking clothes. They got a gun.
A rifle in the back of their truck.
Yeah, you can spot them a mile away, especially with the beard thing. I don't know what it is about. They think they need to trim those beards. They look horrible. But I guess the best we could hope for would be on a plane flying, maybe with Cory Booker and Jasmine Crockett. Maybe we get to be on the same plane to get together as we're being shipped out of here. But you're right. Trump has a dictatorship in mind. That's what he's trying to do. That's what he's going to keep on trying to do. He ain't going to give it up. But we'll see what happens. But I think he's going to be in for a big surprise. Because Americans of all ethnic groups, Americans got this, I don't know, probably since the Civil War afterwards, Americans got this thing about, I'm only going to let you go so far, and the next thing you know, there's millions in the streets, and I'm hoping that's going to happen when he thinks he can go as far as he wants. It's going to backfire. And I could see the military actually revolting against him as well.
I hope so. I hope they would be able to. But you have to think about Hitler needed his henchmen, his yes boys, to be able to do what he did. And we can see the same thing now with Trump. He's got his yes boys. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, he's one of his yes boys. The majority leader in the Senate, and then all these senators, he tells them how to jump and they say how high. I am hopeful that if things continue to go bad, that eventually these folks, when they go home, like Chip Roy, when he goes over there, and by the way, he's got part of San Antonio, and I just cringe every time they have him on C-SPAN and San Antonio comes up as part of his community. I just cringe.
Make you want to throw up.
Yeah. So if it gets bad enough, do you think that their constituents will move away from Trump, which at that point, if they see their constituents moving away from Trump, they will then abandon Trump?
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah. And I think we're seeing little bits of that right now because when, the bottom line for a lot of folks is pocketbook.
Right. Yeah.
Let me reach back here and see what I got in my pocket. When the bottom line is when they do this, Fred, oh my goodness, all of a sudden Trump ain't so hot anymore. And they're beginning to see that, and that's going to continue, in my opinion, to get even worse for Trump because he's not smart enough to even understand what he's doing.
Do you think if this continues to 2028, we get a Democrat elected president, that they can turn, especially with the DEI and all that he's trying to destroy, taking Black history out of the schools? Do you think we can recover from that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, in my opinion, I think something better may actually come along. We may come up with a better Democratic Party than we've had in the past. Because the Democratic Party, in my opinion, needs to make some changes too. that the old way of doing things just ain't gonna fly anymore. Supporting this war, that war, you know. Yeah, somebody once told me Democrats like wars, and there's some truth to that. And Republicans like making money. And so maybe we could come up with a candidate that will say, we're going to avoid wars, but also we're going to bring full employment. Also, we're going to bring no more racism. We're going to find ways to rid this country of white supremacy. We're going to find all kinds of different ways to make this a better society, because we can't keep living. We definitely can't live like Trump, but and his policies. But also, I think we need a new, different Democratic Party, or a third party for that matter, that will be different, that will be about really real civil rights. Well, they won't hesitate. Biden was better than Trump any day of the week. However, Biden hesitated when it came to the George Floyd Act. So we need Democrats that's going to be strong to change, and then this may be it, Fred, to change the paradigm completely, and eventually rid this country of white supremacy and warmongering and everything else. That's negative.
Do you really think after what 250 years of whites racism and supremacy, I call it the natural sin of America? You think we could possibly do away with it? These white folks love being a racist. They love being able to use the N-word.
You got a good point, Fred. You got a good point, because white privilege is something that benefits them, but who created white privilege? The society did as a whole, because America would, when they said "we the people," Fred, we know what they meant. They meant we the white people is what they meant, and they never meant we the people. They never were talking about all the people. And so you're right that the centuries of this would be pretty hard to get rid of. And I guess when I'm being optimistic, I don't think racism is permanent.
You don't?
I think it can be done away with, but it has to be that's why they stopped DEI, because DEI is an attempt to get rid of white supremacy, to get rid of discrimination, and they know it, so they get rid of it. But if we had children growing up from day one in schools that were teaching, black people are the equal of everybody else, brown people are the equal of everybody, and I mean really teaching that, not just a little bit here and tiny tidbits there, but really teaching them that, we could create a society that is far beyond what we're looking at now, and far beyond those 250 years. But I'm just optimistic that way. I think education is the key, but it's got to be on a mass level. All the politicians have to be geared to doing that, and the masses have to be geared to doing that. And and we can't let a guy who shows up with an ugly beard and a gun scare anybody. That certainly doesn't scare me. But that's what they're hoping for. And it's just, Fred, I hear you, but there's always a possibility. Keep hope alive, as Jesse Jackson used to say. I'm going to keep that hope, or that little flicker of light in my head, going.
Well, I hope it doesn't burn out. But right now, Mario, given this country's history, it doesn't look good. It does not look good. No. I just take the Kamala Harris election. All these folks, white women, were saying they're going to vote for her in the suburbs, and they're counting on that. When they went in that poll, they did not vote for that black woman. They were not going to have that black woman be the first female president of the United States. And that happens all the time. And that's another thing. A lot of this is a result of somehow they messed up in their minds and let Obama sneak into the White House. Now, they're determined. They're not going to let that happen again. So, and they're entrenched. It doesn't look good right now, but going back to what my article was about in the Black Life Texas, we have to get together. we black people have to get together. Let me ask you this question before we sign off finally. By the way, you all may hear me asking Mario a lot of questions. I do because he's very, very knowledgeable. Yeah, very knowledgeable on all this stuff. So he can be the go-to person. I almost forgot what I was going to ask you. Do you think that there's a chance that a black anytime in the future can win the White House?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, but it has to be, I was on a Washington D.C. radio station yesterday, and it broadcast in 85 cities and 13 foreign countries. Yeah, WOL News. Yeah, I think 1400 AM channel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're probably familiar with it, but I was on that channel yesterday, and they were talking about the very thing, Fred, that if we can somehow at least put a dent, and I may be overly optimistic about a non-racial society, but if we can put a huge dent in white supremacy, then with everyone, then I think we have that possibility that we can elect an African-American black president again. But we have to keep chipping away at this white supremacy in little pieces and big pieces in people's minds, in the education system. We got to get the DEI back. We got to get that. That's got to be the number one agenda of any Democrat. And by the way, anybody running for mayor in San Antonio, everybody ought to ask them, and any other city, what's your position on DEI? Because if you're not asking that question of any candidate, well, you're missing the point.
And we have a governor's race coming up next year. They need to ask the candidates their position on, and I will remember that to make sure somehow we get that question out there, their position on DEI. So
we got to fight for that to come back, Fred.
Yeah. Okay, my friend. I think we had a good show. And so you want to make a closing comment before we sign off here?
I was going to say one other thing about Ken Paxton, but the more I think about it, the more my stomach starts to hurt. So I'm probably going to avoid mentioning his name again. And also very hard to even mention that other guy's name that putting tariffs on the rest of the world. One thing I'd like to say, maybe this is a subject for another show. I could see some of these countries that are getting hits for tariffs begin to ask China to make up that, cancel all the contracts with America. And I could see China saying, okay, we're not manufacturing. What is it that you need from America that you're getting from America? We can manufacture. The Chinese they'll build a factory in like 2 weeks.
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this whole thing is going to backfire. Trump's plan is to change the global relationships in the world, change the global economy. And I think it's what's going to wind up happening is China's going to become the superpowers. These countries start saying, we don't need America for this. We don't need America for that. Let's go to China, ask them to set up a factory to build the stuff that we were getting from America.
Okay. With those words, we're going to sign off. And we will see you all next Wednesday. In the meantime, it's the wise guys telling our story our way.
We're wise. Don't you forget it.